Good morning, YouTube. Today I'm going to put together a video on using Drive and also kind of back up a little bit and go over some of the fundamentals of the DR IDR strategy. I've found through some of your comments and discussions with some of you guys that you're really new to this and you actually got involved with this whole process after seeing one of my videos. So I didn't know that. I was kind of assuming that the videos were going to the people in the academy, and I didn't expect a lot of people in YouTube general to see them. So it was kind of a surprise when I started hearing that people were actually driven to go check out the academy based on what they had seen in these videos. So that was cool. Master retweeted one of my videos, and my YouTube went from like 2 subscribers to 140 in 2 days. So I guess I was glad to see people found this stuff useful. And I'm going to try to answer some of your questions through this video and go over some of the fundamentals that help me and I think are important to have sort of in your foundation. So first of all, Drive is an amazing indicator. It has features built in that allow you to not have to really use your fib for like standard deviations. So I'm just going to go over how I set it up. I use the dark mode, so it may not be the same for you, but you can sort of adapt the ideas as far as what I do for my lines to make them more clear, to stand out more. To me, it's important to really be able to see this stuff clearly. As you add more and more things to the chart, these lines, are the most important thing on the chart. So I definitely want to be able to see them and use them in my decision-making process. So I'm going to open it up. When you start Drive Out by default, it has a lot of features built in that are very useful. It's an amazing indicator. But for a beginner just starting out, I find it's easier for me to remove some of the features. I've played with some of it, and I can see the benefit in applying it at certain times. But for just what I'm doing, I'm going to remove some of the stuff and just get it down to sort of the basic features. So I'm going to open up. I don't use the statistics box. I use DR Lens for a lot of my stats and information. So I'm going to turn that off. We'll just kind of start at the top. I don't need to see the closing line, so I get rid of that. That's that little blue line right there. When you open it up, there's a few lines inside the DR range that I don't want to clutter my thinking, so I take those out. So I just use the opening line, and then standard deviation lines. For me, I use, let me see what I use. I have to go over here real quick. I think it's +4. Yeah, so I use static. I use the static, and I use four markings. So that's like 0.5 up to 0.2 or so. Okay, see how I just added it to the chart? I don't need it all the way up here to 0.8. If you don't put these in here, then it just gives you a whole range of standard deviations. And I find it usually doesn't go beyond 2.0, especially in ODR and ADR. And if it does go that high, I'm generally not using that as targets. I'll have a target down here and I'll let runners go up here. So it's not as important for me to see those standard deviations way up here. To remove clutter, like I said, I just use 4. You can use what works for you. Just play around with it. This is real handy for adding areas that aren't already in here. Like say your box that you're trying to make needs to see a 1.3, okay, in the RDR. Well, you can go down here and you can type 1.3, and then when you hit OK, RDR will put a, let me find RDR. There it is, 1.3. So it put this 1.3 in right here, so when I want to make my box and mark an area from 1.0 to 1.3, I don't need to fib it and try to figure out the third or whatever. I can just do that, and there's my 1.0 to 1.3. So that's done in here. For each session, you have that option. If you want to use more than one, you just put a comma, and then I'm going to put a 0.8. Okay. Now it should add the 0.8 right here. So now if I need a range from 0.8 to 1.3, I can very easily see it and just put my range from 0.8 to 1.3. It works for the negative side too. So if we want to go in here, and it's really intuitive. I mean, all you need is a comma and no spaces. So I'm going to put a comma, I'm going to put minus 0.8. And here's the minus 0.8 right here. I guess it's looking for, it's calling this the 0 line because your confirmation went through this side. So I guess, yeah, that you already have your 0, your minus 0.8 in here. So that was a bad example. Let me get rid of that. Let's do something like if we had to go through the other side. Minus 1.7. There we go. So now I have my 0.5. It's calling that a minus 1.7 for like a false day. You'd have a retracement that has a minus on it. It's measuring it from your confirmation side. So confirm to this side, so this becomes 0. From IDR to IDR is always 1.0. And the 0.5s come from the IDR top or bottom. So this is minus 0.5, minus 1. The middle is 0, basically, or your middle line. But from here to here is 1.0. So minus 1.7 is going to be minus 1, minus 0.5, and then another minus 0.2 to get you to minus 1.7. So all your inner DR retracement lines, they're already by default with the indicator in here. But if you need to add something up here or down here, this is where you would do it. And you can do it for any session. So that's pretty handy. Okay, some people will extend the lines. For me, that's too much clutter. I'll extend them out myself if when I'm in the area and I want to see like where the IDR top is in a different session, I'll just extend that out. All right, I don't show the statistics. I don't use any of this right now. I have, but it adds these trigger lines in here. Like there's a trigger line, if you can see it right here. That little blue line right there is this trigger line. I don't need to see that right now. So I just uncheck all of this. This will also get rid of those colored bars and little signs that show false and true triggers. Like I said, it's useful, and it's definitely something that eventually, you know, as I get more comfortable with the data and I'm quicker with it, then I'll start incorporating more to it. But for right now, I'm just trying to focus on the basics. Leave this because that's your retrace grid. The alerts. So if you want to set up an alert for when your DR is confirmed top or bottom, you leave these checked. And then over here I have alerts. Here's my alerts for to get a beep or a signal once the DR is confirmed top or bottom. So I have one for each index. This one is for NQ, YM, and micro ES. So if you set it up like this, when you do an alert, move this for a second. We'll do an alert from scratch. Okay, so I click on the indicator itself. I do a right click, add alert. Okay, and then by default, it pops up like that, and I think that's pretty close. You want open-ended, alert, any function call. Yeah, so that's it. If you right click, and then extra notifications, depending on how you want it. I want to notify on the app a pop up a sound, and I get an email as well. So every time there's a confirmation on the top or the bottom, I'll get a signal, which is handy because sometimes I come home, I work third shift, I'll go to bed, I'll just leave this on loud, and once I get a DR confirmation, it beeps, I get up, I mark up my chart real quick, and sort of see where I'm at. So I don't have to wait, for the DR to form and then confirm. I can just let all that kind of go automatically. So if you have your drive indicator set up like that with alerts on for confirm top, confirm bottom, and then you go over here and you set that alert, you add an alert just like this, having that indicator telling TradingView that it wants to be connected to the alert system is all you need to do. So you hit create, and you'll create the alarm alert, and then you have a list of them over here you can look at any time if you want to delete them, modify them, what have you. So that's pretty handy. That's a great feature to use. Okay, so then I also kind of work with the colors a little bit. I like to be able to see the IDR lines as solid red lines, and I give it a 2, and that will brighten it up a little bit, make it a little more noticeable. The DR line, the DRs themselves, I use solid white, and I also go 2, and that brightens those up a little bit. The DR middle, I don't use that. I do use the IDR middle, and I make that orange dashed, and I leave it as a 1. When I did it as a 2, it was too much space between them. It doesn't work for me that well. And having a dashed orange line, since it's the only dashed line, basically makes it stand out enough for me. But and then the opening line, I like yellow, and also a 2. And I think that's pretty much it. So yeah, it just has to match what you have up here. So like I turn off the closing line, and I don't use the DR middle, I use the IDR middle since our measurements are from there. And the IDR middle is the one I see price react to the most. I use that if I see it, rejecting off the IDR middle, either up or down. I'll use that as a reason to get in, long or short. So I think that's about it. The colored boxes are kind of cool too. So colored boxes will turn these green or red based on whether or not price confirmed higher or lower than the opening. So that's pretty much it. All this is good. So that's pretty much it. So then this is kind of what I'm working with, which for me, this stands out a lot better. Whoops, I need to make that a solid 2. Opening line, solid 2. Okay. Price also will react to the opening line. So again, any line that's going to, price is going to react to, I want to be able to see it. I want to be able to consider that in my calculations. Okay, so that's my setup for Drive. Hopefully that helps. Having this in here is the built-in Fibonacci. In the beginning, I was going over and I was trying to draw out, the Fibonacci based on the IDRs. And I was moving this up. I had it extended before. Yeah, I think I've changed it since then. Since it's built in an indicator now, I changed this up, but that's the way I was doing it prior, and this just works so much better. You can extend these lines out for like the RDR or the ADR and the ODR to the current RDR session, but it just gets too busy for me, so I just kind of use it like this. This is just a standard, Okay, so kind of going back to the basics of IDR and DR. Before we had the DR lens information, we were still having a lot of success, and The reason for that is there's edge just in having these lines available to you. You know, as traders, we're looking for our edge. We're looking for something that gives us a higher statistical probability of making good decisions, basically. Different people have different ways, you know, they apply their edge. There's, you know, 1,000 different indicators, there's different strategies, things like that. But for IDR and DR, having these lines, this DR top, DR bottom, IDR top, IDR center, and opening line, they act as an edge in a way by giving you a place to recognize that price is going to react, and when it rejects from that area, to know that your statistical probability of it reversing is higher. That's all you need. If you are able to recognize that and apply it in your trades using a tight stop loss, then there's your higher probability, and I'll show some examples of that. This has come up because some of us were taking trades the other day before there was a DR confirmation, and others were saying, "Well, I thought we were, you know, we're all trying to, you know, use the DR information and the confirmations," and that's, you know, that's the point of the overall strategy, is to act on the confirmations. But having these indicators and having these areas where we know price is going to react, it gives us an advantage and a way to add an extra element to our toolbox, sort of, as far as where we might take trades. So I think my comment at the time was, you know, we all have to find our comfort zone. Master's been putting in examples of some of these trades prior to confirmation. In fact, the one we took the other night, he had actually marked up the chart and put it in his Discord, his moderated Discord, saying this is a trade he would have taken, and it was a trade before the confirmation. So he's sort of thinking along the same lines. We want to use whatever's available to us. For those of you that traded yesterday, the RDR session, I don't think confirmed until like the last 15 minutes of the session. So if you were waiting for a confirmation, you basically wouldn't have got to trade that whole session. So, and you know, that's not terrible. Some people, they want to wait for that A+ setup, and that's great. You're going to increase your odds overall. But you know, others are trying to find other places where they have, you know, a good chance to take a trade that's going to work out for them. And these lines give us that ability. So I put these boxes in here just to remind me where the sessions were that had some good examples. So here's a good example right here. So we see, you know, price hits these lines, and it respects it. If it's within a tick or two, that's still reasonable. We're down here in the area. And taking trades off of these rejections has been great for me. I got 8R on ODR the other night by taking a couple of rejection trades. It worked out great, you know, and I'm still looking for confirmation. I'll still use confirmation. I'll still use DR lens data. But if I get an opportunity to take something that's for me a high probability with a small risk, I'm gonna jump on it. So here's a good example of the starting line, the opening line. So we got confirmation here, and it comes back up. Once you get a confirmation, these lines are still an important part of where you decide to get an entry. Just because you have confirmation, you still got to figure out when you push the button. You know, when do you buy? When do you sell? So some people might, you know, as soon as they get a confirmation, they're going to buy or sell, thinking that it's, you know, it's obviously if the max extension is 1.5. In their mind, they got a confirmation, it's going to go down to 1.5. The problem with that is there's also a retracement. So you have to take that into consideration. You can't just look at confirmation and get in thinking it's going to go straight to 1.5. That's not the way it works. You need to wait, see how it responds to these different areas. Does it come back up? Does it reject off the opening line? Okay, so you get a couple of rejections off this opening line. For me, your master, I think, says 3. For me, 2 or 3. I'm gonna get in with a very small risk. Because you have these lines, you can put a tight stop loss. For someone who doesn't have these lines marked, if they were going to take this same trade, okay, suppose I'm going to get in short right here after this second rejection right here. This is my indicator. I have a reason to take a trade. If you take drive off, where's your reason to take a trade? You see what I'm saying? This is just, it just looks like chop. You know, you don't know which way that's going to go. For me, though, I see it rejecting off a prominent area that I know the algorithm respects. I've already got a confirmation short. I've got 2 rejections off the line. I'm in right here. And it's because I have that ability to see these lines, whether it's the opening line, the IDR lines, DR lines, etc. For me, that's edge. Because before I had that, before I had these, you know, this indicator, I wouldn't have been confident right there. I wouldn't have taken it. So that's, and then again down here, if you miss this one, now you've got 2 or 3 rejections off the DR bottom. So for me, say I trade 2 micros, that's $10 a point, or $2.50 a tick. So I'm going to take a trade. I'm going to go 3 ticks above the starting line in this instance. So we'll say there's my trade. Three ticks above. 1, 2, 3. That's my stop loss. Here's about my entry. Conservative target, you know, maybe, I don't know what the data was for this day, but I'll split the difference between 0.5 and 1.0. Okay, so I'm only risking 1.5 points, which that's $15 for trading 2 micros. I'm only risking 15 bucks. And my potential profit is, what am I, 5.5 to 1, 8.25 points. So 80 bucks for a 5-hour trade. Having the line here and having some faith that it's going to hold because of the prior rejections and the early confirmation short, I can do that stop loss right there. If not for drive and this line and this ability to sort of have an area of trust, now where do I put my stop? Right? I mean, do I come up here? Do I come up here? Do I go all the way up here? You know, there's nothing for confidence. Sure, you can say, you know, above these candles, but there's nothing other than the 2 candles and the 1 rejection saying that might be a good choice. Without that line there, knowing that it's something the algo respects, that's not enough for me to get in. But having that line there and knowing this is algorithmic and knowing that there's a reason why price is rejecting right here, not just buyers and sellers disagreeing or, you know, buying and selling pressure, whatever, helps me make a determination, helps me make a really tight stop loss trade, which for me is important. I can afford to lose 2 or 3 of these and not even sweat, you know. I mean, that's not going to bother me. I'm waiting for the one that hits. So that's changed my thinking drastically, because prior I was having to use wide stop losses to have any kind of confidence. And then when I did lose, you know, I was losing more. So it was just, it wasn't as efficient. Put drive back on here. So we'll go to another example. Okay, again, this is just to show that price respects the lines. Okay, this is where the line's actually created. It was created on this first wick. Now it's respected by the second one. Comes up here, it's respected again, finally breaks through, then it's respected again, doesn't come below. Multiple rejections off this line. Okay, without drive, why is it rejecting here? If all you could see was this, would you get in a trade? Would you go long right here? No, because there's no reason to know what's causing the resistance here. So having the indicator on and having the line there, there's your edge. Now you know, you have a reason to go long. You see rejections, you've got your confirmation above, we know we're going long. Again, I don't have the DR lens data here, but we'll always assume, you know, 0.5 is always going to be good. And that's what a lot of us were doing before we had DR lens and the ability to see what max extensions were, etc. We knew there was a good chance 1.5 to get hit, and if 1.5 was passed, then we shoot for 1.0. So conservative conservative target, splitting the difference again. Turn that off. Whoops, where did we go? There we go. Okay. Yeah, well, in this case, 1.5 would have, or 0.5 would have won for sure. But again, the ability to have the line is beneficial for seeing your area of rejection, and it's also then equally useful for your stop loss. So for a long trade right here, early confirmation, couple rejections, we're going to get in, 3 ticks below. And it depends. I mean, if the DR and the IDR are really close, I'll use the IDR just for the best chances. I'd rather risk a couple of bucks more and not get stopped out. So let's see, 1, 2, 3 ticks. 3 ticks, 0.5 target. Okay, so I'm risking 1.25 points, which is 1250. 4.8 points on that trade, or 4.8 RR, and 6 points gain. So and I trade futures. So for me, 6 points. If I just trade one mini contract, 6 points is $300. I mean, $300 for that little move right there. I'll take that. And eventually, I'll start trading minis again. I got burnt. I was telling some of the people in Discord the other day, I'm really new at this. I started in July, and I saw the warnings about over leveraging, but I was like, it's not going to happen to me. Well, I over leveraged, and I took a couple hits that humbled me and got me back down to thinking maybe I should just paper trade this, or I decided to go to micros because I want to still use money to be experiencing the psychology of actually winning and losing money. It definitely affects your thinking and your decision-making process. But I didn't want to lose so much. So there was a period where I was making, $1,000 in 2 minutes trading, but I was pushing like 15 minis and just getting a couple ticks movement, which worked great when it went my way. But then there was a couple days where it didn't go my way, and I lost a ton of money. So I decided to heed the warnings, not over leverage, and get my process down, get my strategy down, and then size up. So once I'm, get a good ability to just, get these points on a daily basis, and check out what my winning ratio is, all of that good stuff. Then when the time's right, all I have to do is add position, and if I don't need to change anything else, because I'll already prove that what I'm doing works, and I should be able to have faith that that's going to be profitable for me. So again, I'm just doing this to kind of show that you have edge even before you use DR Lens. DR Lens helps you refine that edge, and definitely expands on your ability to calculate where price is going to go and have a time. But you have edge just in being able to use these lines for entries and exits. Use your 0.5 as a starting place, and then you can do quite well just with that. And then you add your DR Lens, as you're working your DR Lens stuff in and getting more confident with that, then you'll see, the more used to it the more you do it, the more you get used to it, the faster you'll get at it, the better you'll get at it, and it won't feel so clunky. Right now, I know it feels kind of clunky. Price is moving. You're trying to get your boxes and your lines on the chart, and you might be missing some stuff. So trade might get away from you. So it just takes some screen time. I mean, I'm really new at this. I know a lot of you are as well, so don't put too much pressure on yourself. Okay, again, and I think this might be, was this ODR? No, this is another ODR. All right, so again, just on this theme of the lines acting as a support and resistance, it definitely increases my belief that this is all algorithmic. The fact that if this was a random just random buying and selling these lines wouldn't get this kind of precision. And those of you that follow ICT, he talks a lot about this too. The precision of price pretty much makes it impossible for this to just be random interactions between buyers and sellers. So here we get some, we get our box built. We get respect of the line after the box is built. We come down, we get a confirmation, and we're right here on the lines. Here's basically 3 rejections from IDR. So that would have been enough. After this candle forms, then we're waiting to see what happens. Does it retrace? Does it reject? Right here I would have got in on a short, 3rd rejection from the IDR. Whoops. I want my short tool. Okay, why is this not working? Short tool. There we go. 3 ticks. 1, 2, 3. Yeah, barely enough, but I found that's pretty much appropriate. Works. All right, so very tight stop loss again because I have this line. I can't stress how important that is to me to have that there, because without that, again, where's the stop loss go? It goes up here. This is where you'd have to put your stop. If you're going to take a trade in here, you're going closest swing, right? Is going to be up here. Well, now I'm at 10.5 points of risk. My trade is only a 1.6 risk to reward. And I wouldn't have taken this anyway, because I had no, without DR and IDR and confirmations, there's no way I would have got in right here. Just there's nothing to see. This is edge. This is huge edge, being able to look at a chart like this, see something like this, and have this ability to know that most likely it's going to keep going down. Because again, when you go to replay, back up to here, what do you see? All right? I mean, if anything, you're thinking here's your support, it's probably going to bounce right here. You're probably looking for it to go long, right? This is support. All right, we come up here, we're looking for probably a bounce. But with DR, IDR, and the indicator, all right, we know because we've got this confirmation. Why is it not showing up as a confirmation? Okay, I guess being replay mode, it loses the little mark there. So anyway, with the indicator and the strategy that we're using, we know here short. We can look at this. We know that this support is not going to hold, most likely. So now my stop loss, instead of being 10.5 points, I can comfortably come down here to 1.25 points, right? That's huge. That's a huge advantage. That's edge. Minimizing risk is just as much edge as being able to, have a good sense that price is going to go in a certain direction. Either one either makes you money or saves you money. Both definitely count as edge. So, conservative target, split the difference between the 5 and the 1. Without using DR lens, it can't as accurately say where the target would be. But I always know 0.5 for sure. I split the difference. If it wants to keep going, I'm moving my stop loss. That's for me, having a starting place for my target is the most important thing. Because after that, then it's all about managing the trade. Once my initial target's hit, then I'm either, depending on what size I'm using, I can take some off, I can take partials, I can move the stop. But I'm going to have something in my mind to take into account that it could go down here to 2. I'm not just going to close my position at 0.5. But for just a place to look at, this is where I want to start making money, 0.5 is where I always start. And then again, if you miss this trade, guess what? Say you go get a cup of coffee, you come back, and you're, speaking of coffee, I'm going to take a sip real quick. And this video is getting kind of long, so I'm trying to shut it down. I'm already at 35 ads. So you miss this trade, it comes back up here, and it bounces several times off the DR. Okay, again, 2 or 3 bounces, even if it's green, I mean, that's still enough for me. And definitely on this one, as soon as I saw this heading away from there, I'm going to get in. Since the rejection was on the DR, and looking at this, I might still use the IDR line as my stop loss, just because I saw it popped through there once before. So 3 ticks above, 1, 2. It's hard to do when it's this small. 1, 2, 3, somewhere in there. Okay, and about there. So 4 points on that one. That's going to be a $40 risk with 2 micros. And then split the difference. So it's a 3R trade still. And with that much risk, I probably wouldn't have targeted the 0.5 because it wouldn't have even been a 2 point, a 2 RR trade. So at least get a 3, you know, something, start with a 3 there, something like that. But it's this that gives me the ability to be confident and take that trade. And you can take that whether you get confirmation or not. Having the DR lines and knowing that the algorithm respects those lines, trust me, that's edge. And then I think I got just, yeah, here's the ODR session that we took the trade the other night. And there was some discussion about whether or not we should have taken this. And this is the one that the master, I don't want to call him the master. I'm a Christian, I only have one master. But I definitely respect the fact that he's the master of this stuff for sure. So here you go. All kinds of respect to the IDR or the DR top. So, you know, the DR top gets made on this candle right here, this wick. When it pushes up there, that's where that line starts. It gets respected several more times. That's the algorithm, okay? It knows that this is where it wants to turn around at this point. It has this price point in mind, so it's respecting that line. It comes down, it drops, it's rejecting around the IDR now. So this is a good sign, right? Drops down. Then it starts rejecting off the IDR middle. And this is where I took the trade. I don't remember where I was exactly. Well, actually, we can look at my executions. Oh, I'm on ES. I need to be on MES. Ooh, that's busy. So yeah, I took a ton of trades on the RDR session. Okay, so for right here on this one, I got in right here. So it dropped below, stayed below 40.92.25 would have been right there. So I took the trade right here. If I recall, put my stop above this candle right here. So 40.92.25. Stop right there. Target my 0.5. Yeah, so this is my first trade. And I took it before the confirmation, but I took it and so did some others because of this rejection off the middle line. And it worked out great, you know. That same philosophy of price respecting these lines is what I had confidence in. Saw several rejections, got in with a very small risk, $7.50. No, $12.50 with 2 micros. So I risked $12.50, and you know, had a good target down here at 0.5, and it kept running. I got out at 40.84. So yeah, I got out right around here, and it kept going, and I got back in. I was in and out all day, but again, that's the benefit of having the indicator and the knowledge that price is working with these lines. So anyway, I don't know how much that helps, but I thought that was important for people that are just getting started to focus primarily on getting your drive indicator set up right, recognizing that you have edge with these lines. Start looking for your opportunities, whether you wait for confirmation or not. If you're waiting for confirmation and you're looking for places to get in, try to use these lines as, you know, points of entry. And then it gives you also a place that you can be confident with your stop loss as well, which is equally important. If you pick good targets but bad stop losses, when you lose, you're going to get burnt. So, like I said, managing the trade it's kind of a two-part deal. You got to manage what you risk and what you earn. So, all right. Again, thanks for the comments. Thanks for the interaction. I'll try to answer. I think I answer any questions. If you put a comment, since there's only 140 of you right now, if you put a comment in there, I'll definitely get back to you. And if we're in Discord, you want to message me, you want to see something in a video, let me know. And if it's something I feel like I know enough about to talk about, I'll do it. Otherwise, I'll have to study up on it and see if I can apply it to what I'm already doing. All right. Thanks. Have a great day.